The situation at the US-Mexico border is indeed complex and multifaceted, making it difficult to provide a straightforward summary. On this episode, we are going to talk about US-Mexico border security, political polarization, immigration policies, economic impact, border culture, environmental impact, humanitarian issues, historical context, cross-border cooperation, and legal and policy perspectives. The history of the US-Mexico border is complex and intertwined with the broader histories of both countries. The border was established after the US-Mexican War 1846 to 1848, through the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848, and later the Gadsden Purchase in 1853. Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo 1848. This treaty ended the US-Mexican War and established the Rio Grande as the boundary between Texas and Mexico. It also ceded the territories of California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma to the United States. Gadsden Purchase 1853. The U.S. acquired additional land in southern Arizona and New Mexico. Through this purchase, establishing the current contours of the border. Mexican Revolution 1910 to 1920. The Mexican Revolution had political, social, and economic repercussions, influencing migration patterns and border dynamics. Bracero Program 1940 to 1964. During World War II, the U.S. faced a labor shortage, leading to the initiation of the Bracero Program, which allowed Mexican temporary contract laborers to work in the United States. North American Free Trade Agreement and NAFTA-1994. NAFTA aimed to promote economic cooperation between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. While it had economic benefits, it also had social and environmental implications along the border. In our recent history, various administrations have approached the border, highlighting some of the key measures and their potential impacts. George Bush's approach to immigration was multifaceted and evolved over his presidency. Here are some key aspects: security and important, increased border security. Bush significantly increased funding for the U.S. Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection, leading to an expansion of personnel and technology. The Secure Fence Act of 2006 authorized the construction of hundreds of miles of fencing along the U.S.-Mexico border, though not all of it was completed. Interior enforcement. Bush's administration launched Operation Streamline, aimed at prosecuting and deporting undocumented immigrants caught by local law enforcement. This led to a sharp increase in deportations. Temporary worker programs. Bush proposed a temporary worker program for undocumented immigrants already in the U.S., allowing them to earn legal status through continued employment and meeting certain requirements. However, this program faced opposition from both sides of the political spectrum and was not enacted. Pathways to citizenship. No amnesty. Bush opposed granting automatic citizenship to undocumented immigrants, arguing that it would encourage further illegal immigration. However, he acknowledged the need for a solution for those already in the U.S. Support for the DREAM Act. In his later years, Bush expressed support for the DREAM Act, which would provide a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Bush's policies were shaped by the September 11th attacks and the subsequent focus on national security. Barack Obama's approach to immigration during his presidency was marked by both bold actions and political stumbles, leaving a complex legacy that continues to be debated today. Here's a breakdown of some key aspects. Executive actions. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. DACA. In 2012, Obama established DACA, protecting hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children from deportation and providing them with work permits. DACA remains in legal limbo under subsequent administrations, but it represented a significant effort to address the plight of dreamers. Deferred action for parents of Americans and lawful permanent residents. DAPA. In 2014, Obama announced DAPA, extending similar protections to parents of U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents. However, this program was blocked by legal challenges and never fully implemented. Congressional efforts, comprehensive immigrant reform. Obama sought comprehensive legislation to overhaul the immigration system, including a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. However, despite bipartisan support, the effort ultimately failed in Congress due to Republican opposition. Border security. Obama increased funding and resources for border security, while also emphasizing smart use of technology and targeted enforcement. He also expanded programs to combat human trafficking and drug cartels. Deportations, record highs, despite his focus on DACA and DAPA. Obama's administration deported a record number of undocumented immigrants, exceeding those of President George W. Bush. This discrepancy remains a controversial aspect of his legacy. Donald Trump's immigration policy was perhaps the most divisive and controversial aspect of his presidency. It can be characterized by a focus on extreme security measures, limited pathways to citizenship, and harsh rhetoric. Trump's policies were shaped by his America First agenda and his belief that illegal immigration posed a significant threat to the U.S. They faced continuous legal challenges and public opposition, leading to partial rollbacks and revisions. Border wall. Trump's signature campaign promise was building a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border to deter illegal immigration. He secured funding for a portion of the wall, but its effectiveness and cost-effectiveness remain highly debated. Zero-tolerance policy. This policy led to the separation of thousands of immigrant families at the border, a practice widely condemned for its humanitarian impact. Travel ban. Trump imposed travel bans on citizens from several Muslim-majority countries, sparking accusations of discrimination and Islamophobia. Increased IC raids. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) conducted more arrests and deportations of undocumented immigrants during the Trump era. Opposition to DACA. Trump sought to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, leaving the fate of dreamers uncertain. Limited legal immigration. Trump proposed and implemented policies that reduce legal immigration, including placing significant caps on refugee admissions and making it more difficult for skilled workers to obtain visas. Merit-based system. Trump advocated for a merit-based immigration system that would prioritize skilled workers and those with close family ties to the U.S. Joe Biden. The Biden administration has implemented several changes to immigration policies, aiming to address issues such as family separation, asylum processing, and the overall approach to immigration enforcement. Some key aspects of Joe Biden's immigration policy. Reversal of zero-tolerance policy. The Biden administration moved to end the zero-tolerance policy that led to the separation of migrant families at the U.S.-Mexico border. Efforts were made to reunite families that had been separated under the previous administration. DACA restoration. President Biden expressed support for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals DACA program. Early in his administration, the Department of Homeland Security (DHS) announced plans to preserve and fortify DACA, providing protections for individuals brought to the U.S. as children. Halt on border wall construction. Biden issued an executive order to halt further construction of the border wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. The administration conducted a review of the project's contracts and funding. Immigration reform proposal. The Biden administration proposed comprehensive immigration reform legislation called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. The proposed bill included pathways to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, improvements to the legal immigration system, and enhanced border security measures. Temporary Protected Status (TPS). The Biden administration has sought to extend or redesign a temporary protected status for certain countries, allowing individuals from those nations to remain in the U.S. due to ongoing crises or dangerous conditions in their home countries. Asylum policies. Efforts were made to review and reform asylum policies, with a focus on addressing root causes of migration and creating a more humane and efficient asylum system. The administration aimed to end the Remain in Mexico policy, which required asylum seekers to stay in Mexico while their cases were processed. The southern border crisis involves a confluence of factors, including economic disparities, violence, and political instability in certain Central American countries, which contribute to increased migration flows. Resolving the southern border crisis requires a holistic approach that addresses both immediate challenges and the root causes of migration. Comprehensive immigration reform, international cooperation, and investments in addressing economic and security issues in such countries are essential components of long-term solutions. What do you think is the best solution?